A very awful man died and was sent to hell. Satan met him and welcomed him. Despite what you've heard, this place is not so bad, he purred. You have choices. Let me show you. He took the man to a corridor with 3 doors. The man looked in the small window of the first door. Inside, he could see people up to their necks in human feces. They were writhing, moaning, and throwing up from the stench. The man was unsure. That doesn't look so good. Can I see the next room? Of course. Satan led him to the next door. Through the window, he saw people up to their waists in excrement. They were also throwing up and miserable. I don't know, said the man. Can I see the third room? But of course, Satan crooned. He led him to the third door. The man saw people standing in human feces up to their knees. However, this group was having cake and coffee and smiling. The man was relieved. This room looks the best. I'll go in here, he told Satan. As you wish, sir. Welcome to eternity. Satan led him into the room. The people inside welcomed him and gave him a piece of cake and some coffee. The man was happy with his choice. Suddenly, a klaxon sounded. Over the intercom, a voice said, Okay, everyone, break's over. Back on your heads. 3 men are all working on building a house. They go up to the roof for lunch and unwrap their sandwiches. The brunette says, If I get one more tuna sandwich, I'm going to jump off this roof and kill myself. The black-haired one says, If I get one more pickle and lettuce sandwich, I, too, am going to jump off this roof and kill myself. The blonde looks at his sandwich and also declares, If I get one more peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I'm going to jump off this roof and kill myself. The next day, they all get the same sandwiches and kill themselves. That night, their wives all meet up and mourn. If I had known that my husband was going to kill himself over a sandwich, I wouldn't have given it to him. The brunette cries. Same, the ravenhead replies. They both look at the blonde. Don't look at me. He packed his own lunch. A man kills a deer and takes it home to cook for dinner. Both he and his wife decide that they won't tell the kids what kind of meat it is, but will give them a clue and let them guess. The dad said, Well, it's what mommy calls me sometimes. The little girl screamed to her brother, Don't eat it. It's an asshole. A disciple went to his master and said, I have served you faithfully for 10 years. Now I have a wish. Give me something to eat which will never end. His master said, Here, have some chewing gum. A little old lady goes to her doctor for a checkup. The doctor asks her if she is having any problems. Yes, doctor, I have a problem. I have to fart a lot. I fart all the time. Fortunately, no one can hear them or smell them. In fact, I've farted twice just since you came in. I bet you couldn't hear or smell them, could you? The doctor gives her an examination and says to her, I can treat this problem with an over-the-counter medication, a prescription, and a referral. The over-the-counter medication will help your body produce less gas. The prescription medication will help you recover your sense of smell. And I'm giving you a referral to an audiologist to see if they can help you to hear better. 75-year-old George says to his doctor, I think my wife's hearing may be bad. How can I test her hearing? The doctor says, sometime when her back is to you, ask her a question and see if she answers. If she doesn't answer, take a few steps forward and ask again. Continue doing this until she answers. Then you will know. A few days later, George comes into the house and sees his wife's back to him as she is cooking dinner. So from across the room, he says, Hi, honey. What's for dinner? No answer, so he takes a few steps forward and asks again. What's for dinner, dear? Still no answer. He takes a few steps forward and asks again, with no response. Finally, he gets about a foot from her and says into her ear, So what's for dinner? She turns around, puts her hands on her hips, sighs, and says, For the 4th time now, we are having chicken. A guy's going on an ocean cruise and he tells his doctor that he's worried about getting seasick. The doctor suggests, Eat 2 pounds of stewed tomatoes before you leave the dock. The guy replies, Will that keep me from getting sick, doc? The doctor says, No, but it'll look really pretty in the water. A person is traveling and calls home to ask how things are at home. The kid says the cat died. Kid is told you don't break news that directly. You first say cat is on the roof. Next day cat is injured. Third day cat died. So it isn't a shock. Next day dad calls home to see how things are and is told, Grandma is on the roof. 2 doctors are walking down the street when they see a man walking towards them with a strange limp. After a short diagnostic discussion, one of them stops the man to say, My friend and I are trying to guess your medical condition. I think it's lumbago, but my partner says it's probably arthritis. Can you enlighten us? Well, says the limping man, Were all three of us wrong? I thought it was gas. Every 10 years, the monks in the monastery are allowed to break their vow of silence to speak 2 words. 10 years go by and it's one monk's first chance. He thinks for a second before saying, food bad. 10 years later, he says, bed hard. It's the big day. A decade later, he gives the head monk a long stare and says, I quit. I'm not surprised, the head monk says. You've been complaining ever since you got here. A panda walks into a bar, sits down, and orders a sandwich. He eats, pulls out a gun, and shoots the waiter dead. As the panda stands up to go, the bartender shouts, Hey, where are you going? You just shot my waiter and you didn't pay for the food. The panda yells back, Hey man, I'm a panda. Look it up. The bartender opens his dictionary to panda, a tree-climbing mammal of Asian origin, characterized by distinct black and white coloring. Eats, shoots, and leaves.